Hi students. What you are seeing now is the work of art that characterize Byzantine art. At this timeline, arts are more elaborate with the use of mosaic. Okay, mosaic were extensively used to decorate the interior churches at this time. Later we will talk more about these artifacts in the following slides. Okay, iconography. These two basically icon, right, serve the same purpose with two major differences. Christianity would portray Jesus in his own image, which is artist impression. Obviously it's an artist impression, whereby Islam at its peak would adopt words to describe Muhammad and Allah. Okay, so Islam has name for God, whereby Christians don't have the name. In this modern time, same concept of iconography is being used, like what you see now. So you will see this frame poster of Malaysian king and queen side by side with a minister normally. Okay, it's found in government office throughout the country. The royals would wear a special ceremonial garment or clothing, like what you see now, very luxurious and highly ornamentation. So the concept is to show authority and constant brainwashing. Basically, it has a metaphor that explains that I'm in charge. Okay, so that is what iconography is. So in this this map show the split of the empire during the Emperor Diocletian. The split of the empire also causes religious rift, creating the Catholic Church in the west, which is here, right, and the Orthodox Church in the east, which is here. So church ideology becomes very different actually, because they have this rift, and Catholic Church remains separate from the state and see itself as a spiritual ruling body, whereby the Orthodox Church was based on the union of spiritual and secular authority in the emperor. Okay, so the emperor was the head of the church as well as the state. Western side simply deteriorated over time, this western area. Okay, with all the barbarian invasion like the Visigoth from here, Ostrogoth on the north, like what you see here, Ostrogoth, and the infamous Attila the Hun, one of the barbaric tribe that come from the northern part. Okay, so these are the one that constantly attack the Roman Empire until they become weakened. When Western Roman collapsed, Roman Byzantine became the last remaining Roman Christian empire till it fall to the Ottoman Turks in 1453, right? So that's a brief history. Let's check on the next slide. So Byzantine art is actually an art of an Eastern Roman Empire and describe a certain style, which we will to check later. And Byzantium remained under emperor's control, and it was brought to a new level of power and stability under Justinians. This is happening between 527 and 565 AD, right? And then political and spiritual leaders, West is actually governed by the Theodoric Germany, and the West is actually Pope. They have two. They have one political leaders and also a Pope, a spiritual leader, whereby Emperor Justinian on the Eastern Byzantine. So he holds both spiritual and political, leaders task. Okay. So Justinian retains the idea of emperor as partly divine, so he kind of like brand himself as like divinity, that everything his decision always comes from the God. Saint Vitale Ravina is a style of early Christian church. It uses simple patterning with intricate motifs. So main idea is to show divinity through luxurious decoration later, and this idea was adopted and stylized by the Islamic art tessellation to decorate their mosque. So this is what it is. the interior of Saint Vitale, right? So it looks so divine because it has so much decoration around here. So when you're sitting around, when you look up, okay, the poor, especially when they are in the church, they will see some glorified design, you know, more like a divine, that this is like remarkably beautiful. So it like transcends you toward heaven, right? So this is another section of the dome underneath. So as you see the detail here, which is very, very detailed, right? So this is the one I mentioned just now. It somehow has some similarities with the Islamic art, which later they would copy this design and stylize to their tessellation, right? And clearly a Roman invention by the use of squinches, as you can see here. So this is squinches. So this is a concept I mentioned in my class, last class, in the Roman Empire. Hagia Sophia is the biggest church ever constructed actually at that time. So it is the marvel of the Christian Roman architecture. The main dome with its a large central plan creates sound acoustic, like this part. It creates sound acoustic. So meaning the sound vibration bounces from the dome throughout the entire space to create the surround sound. So that means if you are sitting here, if you were to talk and someone is sitting around here, so the sound somehow bounce to create a lot of surround sound. So this is what we call the acoustic. Okay, so the acoustic is actually not common because the Greek are the first one who adopt the idea of acoustic, and this is much different. Okay, so they have a whole lot of structural confined space like what you're seeing here now, in order to build this beautiful church, right? So after the conquest of the Ottoman Turks, Hagia Sophia was converted into a mosque. Major icons such as the image of Jesus was covered actually. They juxtaposed it and they plastered, and then they put what they call the Arabic calligraphy, like what you see here now. They have Allah and Muhammad. This is huge plate, alright? So normally they would decorate Jesus picture here, but now people can't really do it because this is historical part. They cannot peel off this layer, right, in order to see what's inside. So a lot of people just guessing now what's actually written on the actual plate, as you can see here now, right? Some of the images are being covered and some is not, okay, because Islam did not allow to have any images of humans and so on. The use of pendentif here, this is the pendentif, as you can see the diagram here very clear. Okay, the use of pendentif is quite clear with the surrounding windows. In a bright sunny day, when it's viewed from the interior, from the floor down, up the dome, you will look like this. It's like a floating, the dome look like it's float because of the light come across here. If it's bright light, it will glare and you cannot see the window area, as if like this is hanging in space. So that is the effect. Until to this day, Hagia Sophia preservation still continue. So this is due to the deterioration of the structure over time, especially the main dome, which is very fragile at this time, because it was actually already collapsed one time during the empire, and then they rebuild it, they reconstruct it, and that is the reason why it is going to be held by this scaffolding for quite some time because they still cannot manage to solve the structure. Okay, the main character of Byzantine mosaic usually the design are flattened and symbolic and heavenly space. Usually they use gold. Gold is actually very common when they would apply on the tiles. And the shapes and figures shows continuing trend towards shallow space. Okay, so they always have like what you see here, and its detail as described by line, not light, and shade, meaning flat graphics like what you see here now. elongated proportion of all standing figures. This is all purposely make it long, you know, to look so ethereal. Right, the word is ethereal, so they want to make it look ethereal, like an angel, so to probably like elongate the proportion of all the standing figures. And dematerialized body with strong emphasis on the eyes. You know, the eyes, they purposely make it bigger. Main reason is actually in view from distance you can't see the eyes, so they stylize it to make it look bigger so that you can see from far. And they also have this ornate halos. Ornate halos is actually from Persia. It is not common, it is actually copied from Persia, designating this descent from the sun, like something glow from the back. So yeah, so this is actually people who are very religious and pious, they would have like aura, like kind of glow. So that is what the concept of halo is actually. And also quite common in Hindu arts. Okay, this is actually Persia and Hinduism practice this kind of halo. Okay, these two images that you see now have similar concept. The right side shows Jesus and his disciples depiction from the Last Supper. So this is from the early Christian church, the trend. Whereby the left image here shows the Emperor Justinian with his courtiers. Usually he would put his mayor, his priest, his military people, and most of it is political aides. So they are all in a divine pose with these elongations and the style where the Emperor Justinian was holding a bread to symbolize the Christ, and you know, this kind of thing. This mosaic shows Empress Theodora, the wife of Emperor Justinian, right? In the center here, she also have this halo, show like a divinity. She is a very influential figure after becoming an empress, according to certain facts. She used to be a courtesan before marrying the emperor. Also show in this mosaic here her eunuchs, female eunuchs being guided out towards the balcony. So now let us compare to the earlier Greek mosaic. Byzantine style is more hard-looking shape actually, if you look at it on the right side. So line, flat and more vivid color compared to the Greek mosaic. But Greek art has more tonal quality, like you can see here. And it uses multiple motifs, and you know, it's almost realistic, right? So that is the difference. It's not that they did not know how the art works, is that they created their own style. During the 9th century, religion's icon became an important part of the Eastern Orthodox Church. Icon used as an object of devotion, and icon become more and more abstract and stylized. Iconoclastic controversy. What is actually iconoclasm? Okay, iconoclasm is actually an action of attacking or assertively rejecting cherished belief and institution of established values and practices, or the rejection of destruction of religious image as heretical, the doctrine of iconoclast. Okay, so they disagree on certain issues here. So it began with an edict of 726 prohibiting religious image, and Emperor Leo III, after Justinian, strictly interpret the Ten Commandments. In Ten Commandments it mentioned that I am the Lord thy God, thou shalt not have any strange God before me. So that is the first commandment of the Ten Commandments. So meaning here, through this icon, people are misled to believe of strange miracle of energy that can heal the physical and spirituality. So this deviation is similar to the pagan ritual actually, right? And it's finally ended in 843 AD by the later Empress Theodora, the wife of Emperor Theodophilus. And after that, iconodults triumph. Okay, and Well, not when most of the artifacts are destroyed and defaced, as you can see here. So you can see all their faces are destroyed. Okay, so there are not, but there are countless of imageries and artifacts that are being destroyed because of this iconoclasm. So these three icons show some similarity, except hand gesture has changed. So they all put a very minute posture of hand gesture as a practice of divinity as well. So like you can see here, that's the changes. And this idea of this kind of hand will later been adopted by Michelangelo and so on. So they kind of use the same gesture, right? It's a long story. This comes from the hands of God, which is actually last time they have it in the church to show that God's will. Okay, they symbolize this as hand. So that's why they used back the hand of Jesus. It's actually to symbolize God's hands as well, with this kind of pose. And then we have an icon of saint, angels, and Mary. So the right side shows Mary holding a disproportionate size of baby Jesus. Okay, it looks like a small adult actually. They don't really bother about to make it look realistic because they don't care. Another one is this is the carved relief icon from stones and metal, right? So not just artifacts made of mosaic. There are so many other things as well that people can carve, right? And etchings, and do a lot of like in enameling in order for them to create a new style of icon. Christ in art. Okay, until to this day, a picture of Christ is actually a common sight to see in modern days Christian home. Okay, alright, so that's all about the Byzantine art. Our next topic will probably be in Islamic art. Okay, see you, bye.